Hello and welcome to Dark Souls 2 beta. This is the network test version and it was on the 27th of October there, which was Sunday morning. It took place between 7 and 10 AM Greenwich Mean Time. Unfortunately the clocks went back here, so I kind of missed about an hour of it. In this footage I've actually cut out some of my wandering about, so as far as I got was the first boss, and multiplayer wasn't available either, so they're going to have another network test on the 10th of November. I think it's at the same time, between 7 and 10 Greenwich Mean Time on the 10th of November, so I'm looking forward to that. I will know more. I know what way to go now for the bosses, and hopefully I'll get a group of a couple of people summoned, or we'll be able to summon them, because multiplayer was not available and it was supposed to be available, so there's no invasions. There's no PvP, and there was no summoning, so you couldn't summon people to play co-op with others to defeat bosses, so you had to basically do it all solo on your own. And there actually seemed to be Gravelord servants everywhere, which only appeared in Dark Souls when you're on New Game Plus, as far as I know. So it's really weird that Gravelord servants were everywhere. Did that mean it was on New Game Plus, which means it's actually harder? The enemies have more health and do more damage, or maybe they were just there to block certain pathways. Although with a group of 3 players you could get past them without much trouble. Anyway, we're looking at the screen options. We've got blood, which you can turn on and off now. I don't think that was present in the previous game. Subtitles on and off, and you can hide your HUD. You can hide that automatically. And of course you got the adjust brightness feature, so we're going to adjust the brightness until we can see the dragon. It's actually a very dark game, so I turned it up quite a bit. I don't think the hide HUD was on before. Flip camera up, down, flip camera left, right, vertical camera reset, camera sensitivity, so you can set all this up. There's a couple of options missing here, which are wadded out. We've got camera auto recovery on, cinematic camera on, toggle auto lock on, auto aim attack is on, jump controls are, well, we're going to change the jump controls to the circle button as it was in previous games. I don't know why you would want it on L3, that's not a good button to have it on. You can adjust the volume. I think I'll just turn it up ever so slightly. So we can select our character. We've got Soldier, Warrior, Sorcerer, Temple Knight, Dual Swordsman and Hunter. I don't know if this is the final screen which will be used on the final classes. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classes. There was more in the previous game. There was Knight and Wanderer, Bandit and Pyromancer and Deprived and Cleric, who seem to be missing at the moment. So there was Knight and Wanderer and Thief and Bandit and Pyromancer and Cleric and Deprived seem to be missing, although I don't know if I'd scrolled across if they are actually present. If you just keep going across, it doesn't seem to be. Maybe that's just, it's still in beta, so obviously they don't have all classes ready to play. There is a new class, Dual Swordsman, which sounds very interesting. I should have tried that out actually. So you can actually wield 2 swords at the same time. Hunter's always been in, and Soldier's been in, and Warrior. Actually, has Soldier been in? Let me check. No, Soldier seems to be new, but Knight was in Dark Souls, but not Temple Knight, so that's new. And Hunter was there, but Soldier wasn't there, so Soldier is new. Pretty similar classes, Soldier, Warrior, and Temple Knight. What is the difference? Temple Knight looks to be heavier armed and using a mace. Warrior seems to have trousers on, but with armor on top. Soldier seems to be using a polearm. Looks like the Knight from the previous game, Soldier. So Soldier must be Knight now. Don't know why they changed these things. They should just keep the classes. I like the new classes, like the Dual Swordsman they added. According to the wiki on Dark Souls 2 starting classes, during E3 and in the beta it was revealed that certain changes were made to classes. Rather than choosing a developer created starting class, the game will instead analyze your stat allocation and later suggest a class based on your trajectory. So I guess in the final game there will be no classes. So it's going to be like Skyrim. So yeah, in Skyrim basically you chose your race, your sex, and your appearance. There were no classes. Class design was designed around how you played the game and how you allocated your skills. So I'm guessing they're going to go for this in Dark Souls 2, but a bit more tweaked. To have a trajectory on classes so it sees where you're allocating stats. So if you're allocating stats in strength, you're going to be directed towards a warrior or knight. And if you're allocating stats in intelligence, then it's going to allocate you towards, or the trajectory is going to point you in the direction of a sorcerer. And if you put points in agility and dexterity, it's going to point you in the way of a thief, obviously. So that's going to be interesting to see. But for the beta they had set classes, obviously, just to make it a bit more simple. They had soldier, warrior, sorcerer, temple knight, dual swordsman, hunter. So in the final game there will be a lot more classes, I'm sure. And once you allocate, like, I don't know how many levels, probably about 20 levels of stats. Maybe even more than that, 30. Then it'll allocate you to a class, or it'll suggest a class based on your trajectory of your allocated stats. It's also unlikely that the starter gear will be the same. You'll probably find that gear on enemies or something you started with. Sorcerer, there are many different spells available now. These include a fireball spell and an energy soul sword. Taking some things from Skyrim, they had the soul sword in Skyrim as well, and fireball, but that's all I have to reference. The sword seems to run off the catalyst and isn't like the magic weapon spells from Dark Souls. Sorcerers currently start with the spells Soul Shower, Soul Greatsword, Soul Arrow, and Flame Leash. And it appears that they also start with a dagger and bell shield and catalyst. So their starter gear is a cloak, catalyst, dagger, and a bell shield. Warrior. This class contains the iconic armor that we have been shown in the trailers. It was also confirmed that the 2 slots left of the Estus Flask location are for different arrow bolt types. The warrior seems to be based off the undead knight from the trailers. This class carries a greatsword, bearded axe, longsword, and a shield that blocks 100% physical damage. And then we've got Temple Knight or Cleric. And they start with a royal-like robe and eagle helm. Miracles may start with halberd, but unknown. The Temple Knight seems to start with a halberd and the ability to cast miracles. Such miracles would be war and heal. So the Cleric or Temple Knight is the healer, like a paladin sort of. Dual Swordsman. Dual Swordsman seems to start with a black hood with a sort of dark tattered trench coat that is form-fitting on the torso, very like Assassin's Creed style, only black. While dual wielding, the traditional mechanic of two-handing your primary weapon is replaced with a new power stance mechanic. The dual swordsman starts with what appears to be a rapier in the offhand, due to its ability to slash while having a longsword in the main hand. As well, this class has a target shield for parrying, so you can't actually use a shield. How is that going to work? Hunter. This class seems to start with a simple leather armor, heavily similar to that seen in Dark Souls. The only difference being a hat which appears to be the Faris hat. They start with a dagger, short sword, leather shield and bow, as would be expected, a bow for a hunter. Sort of a ranged class, but they have dagger and short sword as well. So thief hunter. I'm very surprised they didn't have bandit and thief still. Dual swordsman and hunter is the closest to that. They would use dexterity and agility perhaps also. Soldier. The soldier is another class which seems to be replacing the knight class from Dark Souls. So yeah, as I said, it's pretty much the same as knight. It comes with plate armor that looks exactly like the knight from Dark Souls. I was saying that. Exactly like the knight set from Dark Souls. This class comes with a spear, short sword and kite shield. She'll be using a spear, maybe a short sword and kite shield. Pretty much all classes start with a short sword. Hunter started with a short sword, Soldier started with a short sword, Dual Swordsman started with a short sword. Oh no, it was a rapier and a long sword, okay. Cleric has a halberd. Warriors has a... I did have a short sword on my warrior when I played the beta there, so that's kind of weird. Yeah, Sorcerer gets the catalyst for casting spells. Or I would call it a wizard staff actually, it looks like. It's called a catalyst in this game. The catalyst is actually required for casting spells in Dark Souls. So I expect that to continue in Dark Souls 2. So without a catalyst you can't actually cast any spells. Magic wand. Anyway, that's about it for classes. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.